Baruch atah Asher anat malacha ha'olam asher kedeshanu mitzvotav v'tzivani lehitatif l'tzitzit. Good morning, Ghost. Good morning, Will. Gosh, y'all are prompt. Do the Discord notifications help? I assume so. You must be getting the Discord notifications. I don't think TikTok could notify you this fast. How are you doing today? Oh gosh, I'm dripping. You have TikTok notifications. TikTok tells you when I'm live. That's cool. Excuse me. No, you're not late. I am late. Always running late. I've been keeping track of my dreams for since I was 19. Actually, since I was 6. I was digging today and I found a dream that I wrote down when I was 6 years old on my hard drive. Isn't that nuts? But I've been regularly keeping track of my dreams since 2009. And today I got a little lost in my own words, reading old dreams. So I'm running a bit late, but late for what? Now's the time I want to stream, so I'm streaming right now. But I'm glad the TikTok notifications work. It's important. It's good. I'm glad you're here. We get to say some words together. We'll start with a little vocal warm-up. Clearly I need it. You can hear it in my voice. There's like a scratchiness. I've had a cough, like a chronic persistent cough for several months now. I guess it's a byproduct of inhaling smoke. So I've stopped inhaling smoke last week and a half, 2 weeks. So we'll see. We'll see if the cough goes away. Vocal warm-up. Vocal warm-up. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale and exhale with a low, even tone. Good morning, Jenna. Thanks, Ghost. Good morning, Sav. Jenna, no, I have not gone dumpstering lately. The last time well, that's not true. I was in a dumpster very briefly a few weeks ago to get a silverware dispenser that I'd accidentally thrown into the dumpster. But I don't think that counts because I put it there and I just had to fetch it back. The last time I got food out of a dumpster was in August. God, almost a year ago, when my students were living with me. And then when they left, I started writing my thesis, or like the final draft of my thesis, like compiling all of the research that I've done over the last decade into a document, and that took 8 months, and it was torturous. But I finished that. I finished my thesis last week. I defended it. I am now a doctor. So I will return to dumpstering and making dumpster films soon. I'm not entirely sure when. I will start making films this month, almost certainly, or at least in June. But I may not go dumpstering until October, because I have a dumpster event scheduled in October. But my life is different now, and I don't rely on dumpstered food in the same way that I used to. Yeah, I mean it's funny. I'm known on this website largely for my dumpster diving, even though that's not really what I think about from day to day. Sav, no, I do not. I'm not sure what that would be, like a hairnet for sleeping so it doesn't get tangled. I just bathe fairly regularly. Should we say some old words? Now that we've digressed about dumpsters and hair maintenance? These are good questions to ask. Yeah, let's take a moment to ponder monotheism. What does it mean for all to be one? Does that make any sense at all? Is it just language? Is it just words? Just some silly meme used to unify some people and isolate others? Or does it mean something, I don't know, more transcendent than that? What could it possibly mean for all to be one? Shema Yisrael Asher Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. Vahafta et anat Elohecha ובכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך ויחיוך הדברים האלה אשר נוחים מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך וחיה כי הביאך יהוה אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר נשבע לאבותיך לאברהם ליצחק וליעקב לתת לך ערים גדולות וטובות אשר לא בנית ובתים מלאים כל טובה אשר למילאת וברות עצבים אשר לא הסת כערים וזיתים אשר נתת והלכת ושבת הישמר לך פן תשכח את יהוה אשר תישך מארץ מצרים מבית עבדים. So the language is Hebrew. And I have learned these prayers. I suppose it did take me years, Sav. I went to Hebrew school when I was younger, and they drilled these prayers into my mind. Before I really knew what they meant, I knew the syllables. And, you know, if I'm being completely honest, I still don't really know what they mean, right? What does it mean, words that someone 2,500 years ago bid me to repeat? What did they mean to that person? And what have they come to mean now? I have not learned Hebrew, Rachel. I've not learned it. I've memorized these prayers, but actually speaking the language is far beyond me. I hope to go to Israel this winter and take a Hebrew class. That will be nice when I get to do that, but not currently. Budflakes, I thought you weren't here. Who's that talking, then? Good morning, Kimmy. Good morning, good morning, good morning. 2,000 years ago, someone asked me to remind myself every day that God is one. And then they continued on and asked me to remind myself, take heed, not to forget the God who freed my people from Egypt, from bondage. And not to forget that God, specifically as acknowledging the kinds of bondage that my people have put other people in the name of that God, in the name of Yahweh. And so I say these words every day, and I acknowledge the oppression that is being done in my name. That's the best I can do. You can guess, Nadia. I do know you're not well when you're not talking. But you're talking. So are you well? I guess you're not well. I'm sorry, Sarah. Yeah, your foot is giving you stress. I do identify as Jewish. What a funny construction. I am Jewish, whether I identify it as or not, right? I cannot deny my genes. I am Jewish. I'm glad that you're talking, right? Like, I kind of wish that I didn't have a relationship with Yahweh. He's kind of a dick. Like the dick. The dick of all the gods. The god with the biggest dick. But I have to have a relationship with him because, you know, I'm genetically predetermined. My ancestors died because of their relationship with him, and so I have a relationship with him too. So it goes. What you doing in North Carolina, Will? Thanks, Alexandra. I've been noticing that too. Just recently. I don't know, like, my hair goes in, like, spurts, and it's only very recently that it started to look, this tall. You're in Raleigh. What you doing in Raleigh? It's so easy to offend, Sav. And I think I'm a little unusual in that often when people ask me questions about my identity, using phrases that I can tell they are structuring them so as to try to not to offend, usually then is when I chafe the most. Do you mind if I ask what pronouns you have? I mean, I guess I do. Like, no, it's fine for you to ask. It's not rude for you to ask. But you could also just guess. You're allowed to guess things about me. You're allowed to make assumptions. I'm here on the internet. An image for your entertainment. And you get to think about it whatever you like. I'm very unusually chill when it comes to talking about gender. I suppose that's true. Some strange way. What a strange way this is. Parasocial relationships are weird, aren't they, Alexandra? Yeah, you know quite a lot about me. And the only thing I know about you is your name. And that I've known you for a year or two. Are people adopted by Jewish parents Jewish? I believe so. I mean, it depends on how old they are. I read an article in an Israeli newspaper about the monopoly that the ultra-Orthodox Jewish sects have over conversion rituals of infants. So in Israel, if you adopt a non-Jewish child, in order for you to adopt them, the rabbinate has to convert them first and go do a ritual on it. And that's not the case in the United States. There's more secular forms of Judaism in the United States. So I do not have the religious authority to answer that question. The answer is it depends, depending on how religious you are. How does one convert a baby? There's a very powerful way to convert a baby, and it involves taking a knife and cutting off the tip of the baby's penis. It's very powerful. It does it right away. It was done to me, right? That's what you get to know about my genitals. That some rabbi, when I was 8 days old, decided to do this particular ritual on my body without my consent to ensure that I had a relationship with Yahweh. Yeah, join the Discord, Alexandra. Check out the link in my bio. There's a link to Discord. You can join it. Book circumcision. Boo circumcision. I mean, like, I think it's a very fascinating ritual and quite beautiful if I can be a little bit more removed from it. But generally speaking, I'm not a fan of altering someone's genitals without their consent, right? But this is it's exactly the same debate that you have experienced in your church about baptism, right? There are some Baptists that say that you can't accept Christ until you're 12 or whatever, and then there are other Baptists that are no, you need to be Baptist when you're very tiny because no time to waste. There are lots of different ideas about consent, and I can't actually say that my cultural upbringing and my relationship to consent and bodily autonomy is the right one. It's just the one that I have. Like, I would have preferred if someone had asked me what I wanted done to my genitals. Um, Wait, all Baptists say you can't baptize babies? Really? I thought there were some that did it. But, you would know better than me, Will. You absolutely would know better than me. Um, you gotta dedicate the babies. Anyway, to answer your question, I think there are a number of conversion rituals that are done on infants to ensure that they are Jewish, and circumcision is the most violent, you might say, or the most permanent, or the most invasive, and also very powerful. So, Will, you believe in circumcision and you believe in baptizing babies. And by believe, you don't mean you believe it exists. It means, because I also believe it exists. It's definitely a real practice. But you believe that the practice is a good thing. You do a dedication of babies and then decide when older to be baptized. That's interesting. Very interesting, Broken Brain Girl. Thank you for bringing that bit of personal experience into the chat. I appreciate it. But as long as the baby is circumcised, the baby doesn't have to say, except God exists. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I believe about Yahweh, right? Like, I could tell you that he's a meme. I could tell you that he's just some stupid fantasy that some patriarch came up with a few thousand years ago. I could tell you that he's the guiding force of my life. It does not matter. It does not matter what I believe about him. I have been marked by his effects in the world, right? Permanently marked in many ways. And that's why I'm afraid of him, right? Because it doesn't matter what I think about him. I'm still impacted by this, like, whatever that is. That idea, that divinity, that cultural program, right? Like, that nationality, like, whatever it is, it's molded me. Yeah. So... maybe we should read an old story. They think that baptism is a get out of jail free card. I mean, that's like a very old split in Christianity, right? And that's what Luther was responding to, that there was too many loopholes in Christianity. This idea of heaven was too easy to abuse and convince people to do all sorts of silly things for their eternal graces in heaven. Right? Like, it's an interesting debate. One that I imagine Christians will be having for hundreds of years still. As people in power say things that allow you to get out of jail free. Oh, most reject the idea that salvation is license to sin. However, there have been a handful of powerful church leaders who did not say that, and they had influence, even if most people today reject it. It was nonetheless influential. Once saved, you can't lose heaven, but there will be consequences. But the consequences are not eternal damnation. Thank you, Jamie. Gotten rid of much of that medieval circumcision about a loophole, thanks to the Counter-Reformation. Yeah, it's quite a debate. Quite a debate, and I only know, like, this much about it. I only know this much about so many things. I wish I knew, like, more, right? Like, coming here on TikTok with this, like, fake religious authority that I have. Because I say these old words every day. Thank you, Ood. You know, I often don't feel very articulate. Like, I often feel like I know extremely little. And that I'm, sort of posing. Posing in front of my fractal tree set as, like, some kind of spiritual knowledge acquirer, when I'm not. I'm just a woman on the internet. God doesn't send Christians to hell even if they commit a horrible sin. Now, that is an interesting theological take. I've not heard that one. I thought the whole point of hell was that's where you went when you committed horrible sins. But, I am not familiar with your branch of baptism. Thank you, Maddie. Gosh, y'all... well, if I'm articulate, y'all are flattering. Thank you. I really appreciate you. You want to live like me? Oh my god. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Watch me watch you. It's very sweet. A little overwhelming for me to hear. But I do try to inspire. That is what I try to do. So, um, yeah. In Islam, all Muslims go to heaven, but there are tiers to heaven. Take these compliments, ho. All right, but only because you called me a hoe. You're very welcome, Gigi. You go to far as to say that damnation is the default position. I mean, that's my reading, right? Like, my understanding of like the aggregate of Christian theology is that most people in the world are set to damnation. Like, that's why proselytizing happens. That's why missionaries occur. But I mean, there's just like, I can't tell you what the correct theological position is. All I can tell you is that there's a tree, right? And there's a whole diversity of branches of Christianity, and many of them believe some things, and some people believe different things, and but they're all connected by the same pattern at the root, right? And that Jesus reaches down into hell and rips us out. That's an image. What an image there. So, so what can we say about Enkidu then? Trying to bring it back. Have to segue. Have to change the subject slightly. What do we say about Enkidu, right? Enkidu committed no sins. He simply went on an adventure with his boyfriend. And it was Gilgamesh's decision making, both to go on the adventure and then to spurn Ishtar. Don't apologize, Will. This is my academic challenge, that whatever we're talking about, I have to bring it back to this silly little story. This silly 4,000-year-old story, right? So Gilgamesh made some kingly, manly decisions. No, Gilgamesh is not in hell, but Enkidu is sentenced to death, right? So 4,000 years ago, we didn't have a concept of hell. Like, the concept of sin and hell, like, emerged in apocalyptic Judaism about 2,000 years after this was written. But we still had a concept of death and the underworld, right? And the underworld was not a good place. And Enkidu is cursed there by Enlil. Because what? Because he cut down some cedars? Because he killed a bull? But why did he cut down the cedars? Why did he kill the bull? Because he was in love with his boyfriend. And now he's sentenced to death, and Gilgamesh does a very poor job at comforting him. He's like, so everybody dies. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. You'll be fine. And Enkidu's like, you suck. What does Enkidu say? Where are we? Where were we? Enkidu blames Shamhat, right? You remember reading that? Enkidu blames Shamhat. He says, come, Shamhat, I will ordain your destiny, a destiny that will never end forever and ever. I will lay on you the greatest of all curses. Here's a curse. Here's an ancient curse for you. It's not hell. Instead, it's slut-shaming, which is why it's okay for me to accept compliments if you call me a hoe, Sarah. I will lay on you the greatest of all curses. Swiftly, inexorably, may my curse come upon you. You may never make a home that you can enjoy. May you never caress a child of your own. May you never be received among decent women. May beer sludge impregnate your lap. May the drunkards bespatter your best clothes with vomit. May your swain prefer beauties. May he pinch you like potter's clay. May you get no alabaster. May no table to be proud of to be set in your house. May the nook you enjoy be a doorstep. May the public crossroads be your dwelling. May vacant lots be your sleeping place. May the shade of the wall be your place of business. May brambles and thorns flay your feet. May topper and sober slap your cheek. May riffraff on the street shove each other in your brothel. May there be a brawl there. When you stroll with your cronies, may they catcall after you. May the builder not keep your roof in repair. May the screech owl roost in the ruins of your home. May a feast never be held where you live. May your purple finery be excoriated. May filthy underwear be what you are given, because you diminished me, an innocent, yes, me, an innocent. You wronged me in my step. This is so misplaced. So misplaced. May the nook you enjoy be a doorstep. Beer sludge, baby. That explains it. Right? Like, So if I remember the story that we read, right, it was only a couple weeks ago. Enkidu is this wild man, misplaced and harsh. Yeah, Enkidu is this wild man, and who, like, Gilgamesh, or like the people of the city, seek out Enkidu, who's living a fine, innocent life, because Gilgamesh is raping young women, right? Remember that part? Gilgamesh is exerting this, like, bride price thing going on, right? So they send this prostitute to take Enkidu's innocence, right? Turn him into a man. Like, that definitely happens. But he seems to enjoy that part. He seems to have a great time with that, right? And then he meets Gilgamesh, and they go on a bromance adventure. Yeah, Gilgamesh is not very innocent. Gilgamesh is the one that makes him go kill Humbaba. And Enkidu's like, no, we shouldn't do it. We shouldn't do it. This is a bad idea. And Gilgamesh is like, no, we need to do it, right? And then they do the thing, and then Ishtar is impressed. And then, again, Gilgamesh is the one that says, no, Ishtar, I'm not going to marry you because all of your husbands die. Which, like, I mean, I guess it's fair. All of her husbands do die. But, like, again, Gilgamesh making a choice. Right? It wasn't Enkidu that made that choice. So then Ishtar gets really upset and sends the Bull of Heaven. And then Enkidu and Gilgamesh kill the Bull of Heaven. And then who gets punished for killing the Bull of Heaven? Not Gilgamesh. It's Enkidu. And then Enkidu's receiving this punish, and he blames Shamhat. He blames the prostitute, not Gilgamesh, right? Not his friend that, like, insisted that he do all of these deeds. He blames the woman who took his virginity because, I don't know why. Like, it doesn't actually, it feels deeply unmotivated to me. But that's the way that it goes. Yes, me, an innocent, you wronged me in my step. I've missed you too, Sarah. How are you? Yes, Savannah, very feisty today. He's an astounding character. It's pretty astounding. The nerve to reject the goddess of sex and death and to think it's going to be okay. That's quite some nerve. I guess it is okay for Gilgamesh. His friend dies, but, you know, not him. So, what happens next? Shamhat remonstrates, asserting that friendship with Gilgamesh was worth the untimely death and promising Enkidu a fine funeral. Shamhat says it was worth it. It was worth it, Shamhat, because you got a nice bromance. He also tells him that Gilgamesh will take his place as a wild man in the steppe, no doubt to the fullest possible observance of the loss of his friends, short of taking his place in the netherworld. So Shamhat says that Gilgamesh is going to renounce his kingship in response to this. Very interesting. God isn't real. Only emojis are real, Sean. When Shamhat heard what was said, from afar, a warning voice came to him from the sky. Oh, Enkidu, why curse Shamhat the harlot? Yeah, that's right, Shamhat. Why would you... Okay, so just to be clarified, Shamhat is the god of the sun. Shamhat, the prostitute. The S, H, and the T there, very critical. So Shamhat says, why are you cursing Shamhat? Oh, Enkidu, why curse Shamhat the harlot, who fed you bread, fit for a god, who poured you beer, fit for a king, who dressed you in a noble garment, who gave you handsome Gilgamesh for a comrade? Yeah. Now then, Gilgamesh is your friend and blood brother. Won't he lay you down in the ultimate resting place? In a perfect resting place, he will surely lay you down. He will settle you in a peaceful rest in that dwelling sinister. Rulers of the netherworld will do you homage. He will have the people of Uruk shed bitter tears for you. He will make the pleasure-loving people burdened down for you. And as for him, after your death, he will let his hair grow matted. He will put on a lion's skin and roam the steppe. If you believe that God is keeping score, hooray. I don't, Ghost. Or if he's keeping score, he gets to, like, charge arbitrary interest. something like that. So then what is Enkidu's response? Enkidu, with bitter humor, immediately reverses the destiny that will never end for the harlot. He now wishes her the best of a whore's life, an eager, generous clientele for all levels of society. Oh, very good. Okay. Well, Enkidu at least listens to the sun god. Let's see what he says. When Enkidu heard the valiant speech of Shamhat, his raging heart was calmed. His fury was calmed. Come, Shamhat, I will ordain you a destiny. My mouth that cursed you, let it bless you instead. May governors and dignitaries fall in love with you. May the man one double league away slap his thighs in excitement. May the man 2 double leagues away let down his hair. May the subordinate not hold back from you, but open his trousers. May he give you obsidian, lapis, and gold. May ear bangles be your gift. To the man whose wealth is secure, whose granaries are full, may Ishtar of the gods introduce you. For your sake, may the wife and mother of 7 be abandoned. For your sake, may the wife and mother of 7 be abandoned. Slap his thighs, open his trousers, abandon his wife and kids, because you are the sexiest of all the harlots, Shamhat. I take it all back. Excuse me. Wow, what a story. Well, now I don't know what to make of it, right? His curses are just as good as his blessings. Oh, to be a prostitute in ancient Mesopotamia. What was her life like? So we will conclude there. Does Shamhat respond? No. Enkidu just dreams. So, we'll read Enkidu's dreams tomorrow. It's so what? She's revered, yeah. I mean, she was a sacred prostitute. She was a priestess of Inanna, a priestess of Ishtar, right? Like, it was her duty to arouse the men and show them the mysteries of womanhood, right? Like, that's, like, explicitly in the text. And, like, she's still... Yeah, it was, I mean, I don't know. Like, the only access to Mesopotamian society I have are these stories, right? And I have a tremendous amount of wishful thinking. But it certainly seems to me like there was a religious role for prostitution in the ancient Near East that there is no modern counterpart today, right? And I've read articles about this. Like, there's lots of scholars that argue, like, to the extent to which sacred prostitution existed. Like, it's debated in the academy up and down, right? Because it's a very charged concept. But it does seem to me that there's at least some indication in some of these ancient texts that there was a kind of identity, like a kind of sacred whoredom, that there were some people in the society that, like, had, right? Like, there were priestesses who were also prostitutes. Seems somewhat likely. Would that position be achieved, or would you be born into it? Difficult to say, Luke, right? Like, I am no expert in Near Eastern studies, and, like, what I can tell you is that all of the academic articles that I've read on this question are extremely diverse, and they contend many things, and there's not much evidence for the practice other than these texts that are circumspect in all sorts of ways. So Shamhat wasn't a real woman. And there's lots of sexual practices that are described in these books that scholars doubt whether they actually existed. Like, was Gilgamesh actually raping the wife of everyone in Uruk on her wedding day? Like, almost certainly not. It's very difficult to imagine that a king could get away with that kind of abuse. But, like, yeah, maybe something like that existed. Hard to know. Yeah, were they slaves? Were they held in high esteem? It could be both, right? Like, I think the position of slavery in the ancient world was also different than what we have today, because our conceptions of property are different. Yeah, Mesopotamia had no qualms about slavery, but there were different kinds of slavery. Like, there was chattel slavery back then, but there were other forms of slavery that, I don't know, more closely resemble the kinds of slavery that our capitalist governments give us. Maybe that's a stretch. Like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't there. And despite my best attempts to read primary sources to understand what life was like back then, it's very hard to know. But yes, there were certainly slaves, and some of the slaves were certainly prostitutes. and some of the prostitutes were very likely priestesses. And so we go, right? Like, Kadisha, right? That's why I fixate on that word, Kodesh, right? Because the word Kadisha, when you see it in the Old Testament, it means sacred prostitute. It shows up in the Old Testament a handful of times for a reason. Yeah, I think they're often one and the same, Sarah. I think they're often one and the same. But, again, 4,000 years of space makes it very difficult to know. Chaga is complete. Let's say Arati, and then Kaddish. Jaya Jayarti Vina Vinayaka Vina Vinayaka Shri Ganesha Jaya Jayarti Subramanya Subramanya Kartikeya Jaya Jayarti Venugopala Venugopala Venuola Papa Vidurana Vanita Chora Jaya Jayarti Venkantaramana Venkantaramana Sankataharana Sitarama Radhe Shama Jaya Jayarti Gauri Manohara Gauri Manohara Bhavani Sankara Sambasara Shiva Maheshwara Jaya Jayarti Raja Rajeshwari Raja Rajeshwari Tripura Sundari Mahalakshmi Mahasaraswati Mahakali Mahashakti Jaya Jayarti Anjaneya Anjaneya Hanumanta Jaya Jayarti Dattatreya Dattatreya Trimutri Vatara Jaya Jayarti Adityaya Adityaya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jayarti Sanischeraya Sanischeraya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jayarti Sankarachaya Sankarachaya Advaita Gravi Jaya Jayarti Sadgurunata Sadgurunata Shivananda Jaya Jayarti Vishnu Devananda Vishnu Devananda Vishnu Devananda Jaya Jayarti Agastya Munaye Agastya Munaye Shriyama Priyaye Jaya Jayarti Ayapa Samine Ayapa Samine Dharma Shastave Jaya Jayarti Jesus Grave Moses Grave Buddha Grave Jaya Jayarti Muhammad Grave Guru Nanak Grave Samastya Grubho Namaha Jaya Jayarti Venugopala. No, it's a very old song, Jimmy Go. Natatrasyo bhati natandrakara tamnima vidyobhati kutoi magni torivan tamanvanti sarvam tasya basya samidam vivanti om gange karamane kaiva govari saraswati narmade sirika verihiya namastitam namo namaha. Tvameva mata chapita tvameva Tvameva bandisha saka tvameva Tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Kayena vacha manasandriya herva Buddhyatmana va prakrite sabhavad Karomi adyad sakalam prasmahi Narayana iti sarmar payami Sarvadharmam pravichayam amekam savardam vrija aham sva sarvapapayo mokshaya mimasucha. Whatever actions I perform with my body, speech, mind, senses, my nature, my intellect, or my emotions, all these I dedicate to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now it's time for Kaddish. Will, your partner's father's funeral is today, is that true? Or was it yesterday? In either case, we'll say Kaddish for him. We'll say Kaddish for all those other people who have died and will die today. Yeah. Every day there's death, right? Every day there's death, and so every day we say these words. Every day we suffer, right? Every day someone points out to me that my gender is not exactly what I would like it to be. Every day. Say Kaddish for that too, right? Say Kaddish for all the ways that I wish I were other than I am. And I grieve those ways, and I also try to accept them, right? Say Kaddish for all of those people that I wish were in my life but are not. Try to accept that they are not. Say Kaddish for all the people who are in my life that I wish weren't. Please get out of here. I'm tired of sharing all my money with you. But they're still here. Right? So we grieve and we mourn. We experience pain. And we do all of this together because what else is to be alive but to experience pain with one another? That's what I think life is. Like, honestly. I can't really think of anything else that it might be, right? That's certainly what my life has been, right? Joy and pain with the people that I love and the people that I don't love. Here we are. Hello, lovely. Here we are. For the last 2,500 years, my ancestors have been repeating these words. And so I come on here and listen to the repetition of other words. What does it mean to repeat something? Adam and Eve ate an apple, and then they were cast from the garden because they were full of sin and awareness, and they were horny. So we say these words. Over and over we repeat these words in response to death. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shema Rabbah. B'yama divrachiyute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayidikol be Israel. B'agala v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shema Rabbah meva'arach li'alam al mei al maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shema d'kudisha b'richu. Leila min kol b'rchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata d'yamiran v'yama v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleini v'yachol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Ose shalom v'imramav huya ase shalom. Aleini v'yachol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oh, say shalom b'imramav, huya say shalom aleinu, v'yalechol Yisrael, v'imruhu v'imru, amen. Thanks for joining me today. I think the apple is a metaphor. Yeah, well, so, if we're asking, what was the fruit that Adam and Eve actually ate? The response is, it's a story. We can say it was whatever fruit we want, because it's a story. It's fiction. We can also ask the question, what was the fruit that the original author of the book of Genesis had in mind when they wrote about Adam and Eve eating fruit from the tree of knowledge? It was almost certainly not durian. It was also, Will is correct, almost certainly not an apple, because apples are native to Kazakhstan and were domesticated, I believe they were domesticated after the book of Genesis was written. So, could not have been apples, because apples don't really grow in the Levant. But like, maybe it was a pomegranate, but certainly not like the pomegranates you buy from the grocery store. Some kind of berry. Excuse me. Yeah. What kind of fruit did the author of the book of Genesis have in mind? I don't know. Is it relevant that we know the answer to that question? Like, what do we gain by knowing what the author, assuming there is one single author? Could it be that there were many people who repeated orally the story of Adam and Eve long before it was written down? And each of those people who were repeating this oral tradition had a different fruit in mind, depending on what their favorite fruit was. A rainbow glitterberry. Gay berries. That's what you're telling me? Like rainbow butt flakes? SpongeBob in the sky? A rainbow glitterberry. I'm sorry, Will. I don't mean to poke fun at you. I believe that your textual literalism and your commitment to understanding the doctrines as they are written is very honorable and respectable, and I admire the way that you approach your religion very much. Rainbow butt flakes. So I'm gonna go because it's noon. One is not to be streaming afternoon, you know. But I will see you all tomorrow, and I really enjoy spending this time with you. Be safe in your endeavors. You too. Take heed. Do not forget Yahweh. Yeah. Check out the Discord server. Do that. Click my bio. Check out the link. Join the Discord. And we can hang out more there. Okay. Farewell. Have a lovely day. Be safe in your endeavors.